The October 23 version of Power BI is there, which lets you see the semantic model, which means we can see all different kinds of data items like calculation groups, perspectives, cultures, partition, inside of Power BI desktop itself without the need of an external tool. And if you have no clue what that means, well, that's what this video is for. Let's get started. Welcome to How to Power BI. My name is Bas, and if this is the very first time for you visiting this channel, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on all of my videos, in which I share everything I know about Power BI. All right, let's explore this semantic model. For that, we need to be on the October 23 version. So double check over here at the top in the help, about, and you see we have October 23. Now, once you have done that, head over to the options, which you can do here in the bottom right corner. Click on settings. And here on the left hand side, you want to go to preview features. And then all the way at the bottom, check model explorer and calculation group authoring. Now, once you have that selected, click on OK. And then we can head over to the modeling view. Now, what changed? Now here on the right hand side, we have now a toggle that lets us switch between tables, which was already there before, and the model. And that's new. So here we can see the semantic model, meaning we can see all different kinds of data items like calculation groups, cultures, measures, perspectives, relationships, roles, and tables. Now, let me click this away. Let's start with what I think is probably the most exciting one, which is calculation groups. Not only can we see them over here, we can also create them. Now, what do you need calculation groups for, and what do they do? Now, calculation groups, they are most often used to reduce the number of measures that you have in your data model. Let me give you a simple, straightforward example. Now, here we have measures, and you see we have measures like ref actuals last year, year over year percentage, year to date, and then we have similar kind of calculations, but then for the forecast. Right? And maybe you have other fields that you want to apply time intelligence calculations to. And every time that pattern that you want to apply is the same. So that's exactly what calculation groups let you do. You just set up all of these time calculations just once, and then you can apply them to whatever measure you like. Now, let's see this in practice. So I'm going to go over here to calculation groups, click on the three dots, new calculation group, or you go here all the way to the top, calculation group. And then you get this warning. When you add a calculation group, implicit measures will be discouraged, so you cannot really use them anymore. This means you will need to create explicit measures, which is anyways a good idea, all right? So not a big deal. Let's click on yes, and that opens the formula bar. And from here, we can give our calculation item a name. So that is the part that's in front of the equal sign. Now let's call this one current year. All right, now current year equals the selected measure. All right, that's fine. That's going to be my first calculation item. And just like this, I can keep on adding more and more. So let's go over here. You see we have now calculation items 1. Click on the three dots, new calculation item, and let's create the next one. So this one I'm going to call last year. So last year, and over here, selected measure returns the values of, well, the measure to which you're going to apply the calculation group. So here I would like to say I'm going to calculate, and I'm going to have as an expression the selected measure to which I'm going to apply the calculation item. And then over here for the second part, there I want to, well, use the data add function to shift my dates 1 year back. All right, so -1, and the interval is going to be here. Okay, and just like this, I'm going to create all of these calculation patterns that I later on want to apply to whatever measure. All right, so let's do this. And now we have all of the calculation items that I want to have, like year over year, we have year over year percentage, and year to date. Now, let's give this calculation group also a better name. Instead of calculation group, I'm going to rename that one to time intelligence. And the column that contains the calculation items, I'm going to rename to date calculations. Now that calculation group basically just shows up as a separate table in your model. So if we switch to the data view and then select that calculation group, you see it's just a table with 2 columns The first one contains all of the calculation items, and over here we have an ordinal column for the sorting. All right, now let's go over here to the report view and see this calculation group in action. All right, now let's try it out on a matrix visual. So I'm going to pick the matrix visual. On rows, I would like to have a breakdown by product subcategories. And then here on values, I'm going to pick one of my measures. Let's go for ref actuals. Okay, now let's make this matrix a little bit bigger. And now I would like to see the current year values for ref actuals, last year values, year over year percentage, and the year-to-date values. Well, instead of having now to write all of these measures, we have our calculation group, time intelligence. So let's go over there and let's add the date calculations on columns. All right, so add data, time intelligence, date calculations, and boom, we have all of these calculations applied to the revenue. All right, and what if we want to do the same thing for forecast? Well, the only thing that you would need to do is go back over here to the builds panel and then replace ref actuals with, let's go over here to metrics and pick the ref forecast measure. That's it. So all of these other measures, last year, year over year percentage, year to date, and then having to repeat this again for forecast, those you can delete. You only need this calculation group. All right, but now you're looking at this and you probably think, yeah, but that looks a little bit weird. The formatting here for year over year percentage, that looks definitely off. And maybe you want to show these values in millions? Well, for that, we have dynamic formatting for calculation items. So for that, we need to go back to the modeling view and then select, let's say over here, the year over year percentage. All right, and here we want to have a dynamic formatting string. So let's toggle that on. And then here we have now the drop down that lets us switch between format and item. All right, and here we are defining the format. So we need a formatting string. Now, if you want to know everything about formatting strings, then just check out this video over there. All right, so we could say I want to have one decimal place, so 0.0 percentage. Press enter, that's it. And for the other ones, let's maybe show them in millions. So I'm gonna go here to the current year item, and then also here, dynamic formatting string. I'm going to turn on, all right? And then here, I type in the dynamic, the formatting string for millions. Now let's copy that over, and then let's also apply that formatting string to the other calculation items. Okay, so I just did it for the others as well. Let's now go back here to the report view, and that looks better. All right, so we can control the formatting as well. All right, and all of these other measures we can delete. So if I go back now to my modeling view and then select all of the ones that I don't need anymore, press delete. Yep, I really want to delete those. And then go back to the report view. You see, everything still works. The only thing that I'm using over here is that time intelligence calculation group. Now, another way of using this would be by applying a filter to the visualization. So instead of having that calculation group over here on columns, let me take it out, okay? You can also either use that calculation group here on filters, okay? Or you create a slicer. Let me resize it and then put it all the way at the top. And then here I'm going to add that calculation group. Okay, now let's resize it again a little bit. All right, and reposition it. So now I'm going to click here on current year. That shows me the absolute values for the current year. Switch to last year values, year over year percentage, year to date. All right, so in this way, you can also apply the calculation items to the measure that you have added here to the visualization. All right, perfect. Okay, so that covers it. So we have already seen calculation groups, but there was much more. Let's explore that as well. Let's go back to the modeling view, and right below calculation groups, we find cultures. Now cultures, what is that actually? Well, it says we have one, ENGB, so English, Great Britain. Now, this is linked to when you go to settings, so here in the report view, in the bottom right corner, click on settings. And here we can go to regional settings, and there you find model language. Language used when comparing strings and data and for creating internal date fields. This only applies when a report is first created and cannot be changed on existing reports. All right, so for this report, we cannot change it anymore. However, if I'm going to create another report, then I want the model language to be maybe Dutch Netherlands. So let's try this out. So I'm going to click on OK. Well, might require a restart. Well, let's see. I'm going to click here on File, New Report. All right, there it is, completely empty. However, when I go here to the modeling view and then open up the model, cultures, open it up, it now shows NL for the Netherlands. All right, so that is the culture. However, what can you really do with it? What does it really impact? Well, this plays a big role when we publish this to the service and we want to, for example, have translations of different measures and fields that we use in the report. Well, let me show you what I mean. Now let's first go back to the Power BI file from before, then go to the modeling view, and then here in our semantic model we see culture as ENGB. Now, Power BI told us we cannot change it after we created the file. However, there's still some ways to do that and add other cultures to it. However, for that we need Tabular Editor. Why do we need Tabular Editor? Didn't this just come to Power BI? Can't we do it from here? Well, not at the moment. We can only see it here. And to create another culture for translation purposes, we need to be in Tabular Editor. Now, at least the tool is free, however. So you can install Tabular Editor 2, that's the free version. Tabular Editor 3 is a little bit nicer, but you have to pay for it. Okay, so let's open up Tabular Editor 2. And here you see also that semantic model. Data sources, perspective, relationships, roles, shared expressions, table, translations. That's the interesting part for now, because that is the culture. Here, ENGB, so English Great Britain. Now, if I would like to add more translations, then I can just right-click, say New Translation. Now, I would like to have one for the Netherlands, so I'm going to scroll down. Now, there it is, select it, click OK. So now that we have that translation added, what's next? Well, now that we have it, we can go here to our tables, and let's pick FT Sales. And then here, let's say we want to have sales amount. And for sales amount, well, we want to put in the translation, right? So then we can go here to translated names in the properties pane, open it up. And then here we can say for Dutch, I want to show the Dutch name, omzet. And then English, well, English, we don't really need to translate, but let's put in sales. All right, now let's do one more. Let's also go here to the dim store table. And here we have store name. And in Dutch, that's called winkel. Okay, and for English, well, that is just store. Okay, so just like this, we can put in the translations, then save it back to our model. And then let's go back to our Power BI file. And here, under cultures, we have ENGB, and now 2 cultures. Okay, that's nice, but what can you do with it? Well, let's see this in action. I'm gonna go here to my report view, and let's add over here simple visual, like a bar chart. And here I would like to have on the y-axis, I would like to have store name, all right. And on the x-axis, I would like to have the measure ref actuals. Okay, now let's make it a little bit bigger, just like this. And now we have to publish it. Okay, so I'm going to publish it. And there we are in Power BI Service. And pay attention to the title, ref actuals by store name. Okay, now I'm going to change the language settings. So here in the settings, general, then here we can choose the language we want to have as our display language. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to switch to Dutch. All right, so Netherlands, there it is. Click on select. All right, and now I'm going to go back to our report, click on refresh, and now it says ref actuals per winkel. Per winkel, that is now Dutch, right? And that is the part that I translated before. Now, ref actuals, I didn't translate yet, but probably a good idea to do that as well. Okay, so now we talked about cultures. Let's see what else is there in that semantic model. Okay, so we are back here in the modeling view. Go here to model, and right below cultures, there we have measures. Measures, well, measures doesn't need explanation. However, right below that, we find perspectives. Now, perspectives are super helpful when you have a big data model and you just want to, well, show a subset of that, a perspective. And this is most often used with personalized visuals. All right, now let me show you how that works. Now, first of all, to make use of personalized visuals, we need to go to settings. All right, so report view, let's open the settings again. And then here we have report settings all the way at the bottom, then scroll down, and here we have personalized visuals, allow report readers to personalize visuals. Okay, so that's checked. Then we have to go to the format settings of this report, where we have also personalized visuals. So nothing is selected, then here formatting, and here we can also turn it on, personalized visuals. Now, if we click over here on this dropdown, then we have over here the whole model, but we can add further perspectives. All right, now, at the moment, there's no perspective yet, as you have seen over here in the semantic model view. 0 perspectives. Now to create one, again, we cannot do it here in Power BI, at least for the time being, and we need to have a tool like Table Editor. So I'm going to open that up again, and then here you see we have perspectives. Right click, new perspective, and let's call this one subset. And here we can add all of the tables, columns that we want to have in that subset, right? So for example, dim store, I want to have the whole table in there. So show in perspectives, which one? Subset. All right. Now then for channel, I would like to have only the channel name. So right click, show in perspectives, subset. And just like this, we can add all of the tables that we want to have in that perspective. So show in subset. And once you're done, then we just have to save it back to our model, and that's it. Now let's go then to our Power BI file. And now here in the modeling view in the model, there we have our perspective subset. Okay, all right, now let's see that perspective in action. I'm gonna go back to the report view, and then here nothing is selected, the formatting pane is open, and then all the way at the bottom, there we have personalized visuals on, and the perspective, there it is, subset. Now, sometimes I experience that the perspective that I created wasn't there straight away. So it was in the modeling view, but not here, and then I had to save the file, restart it before it then finally showed. All right, now, just that you know, now over here, with that subset perspective, what can we do? Well, personalized visual is on, we have the perspective that is applied. Now, you might want to apply it to all pages, that's up to you. And once you have this, well, I have to republish it and then see how it works in action, because personalized visuals, that's something that we can use in Power BI Service. Now here we are again in Power BI Service, and let's say you're the business user and you see this chart and you want to make a slight adjustment to it because your preference is maybe a little bit different from everybody else's. Well, that's exactly where personalized visuals come in. So you hover over it, everything is already turned on by the developer, so we have the option to personalize this visual by clicking on this button, and well, everything is still in Dutch from before, so let me change that quickly. Okay, now it's in English. Now you see we can change things like the entire chart. We can change the x-axis, the column y-axis. We can add a line y-axis. We can basically do all of these things. So maybe I want to have just a table, right? So, or a matrix. Then I switch to a matrix because, well, I just want to see everything in a table or matrix format so that I see the exact values. Now, where does that perspective come in? Well, if I want to add now new columns, let's say, so go here to add new columns, then I don't see the whole model. I only see, well, the tables and the columns that I added to the model. So I can go over here, add my metrics. I can go over here to dim store, where I have all of the columns, but from dim channel, I just chose one column, the channel name, right? And the channel name, I might want to add on columns, just like this. Okay, but that's it. So all of the other stuff that's maybe not relevant for me, all of these other tables are not there in that perspective, and I cannot choose anything from it. Now, a perspective is not a security feature. It's just, well, to make this experience a little bit better, to hide everything that's not relevant. So you see, perspectives together with personalized visuals, amazing. But we are not done just yet. Let's go back to the modeling view, and we go to the semantic model, and here we see calculation groups covered, cultures covered, measures covered, perspectives covered, relationships. Well, relationships we didn't talk about just yet, but it gives you a nice overview of all of the relationships that you have in your model, and just by clicking on it, well, then we can jump to the properties pane to make further adjustments. All right, so a nice experience. Now, right below that we find roles. What roles? Security roles, and that you can set up over here at the top if you go to manage roles. Now here we can set up a new role. So let's click on manage, and let's say somebody is responsible for computers, and computers, that is a product category. So let's go here to dim product, and there I would like to add a new role. So this is going to be product category equals computers. Let's click here and save. That's my security role. Everything has successfully been applied. Let's click here on close. And now you will find here under roles, there you go, computers. Okay, so we can see the role and also over here fx is applied to the table dim product. Okay, so all of the security roles will nicely pop up over here. Now, what can you do with it? Also, this is something that you can use then in Power BI Service, right? So after you publish the file, then in Power BI Service, you go to that file, which is for me over here. Click on the three dots for more options, and then here security. Now, there you see our role, and you can start assigning that role to people. So I'm gonna assign that role, let's say to me. All right, there is me. And maybe we also want to add a role to the finance department and HR. All right, and then click on add. Save it, all right? And now we can see how our report would look like being one of these people, like me, or inside of the finance or HR department. So that's this role. Now let's switch to that example from before. And you see over here only subcategories for that category. All right, so only the computers category. And let's go back to the semantic model again. Well, you might think, are we not done yet? Well, almost. However, one more important group is left, and that is tables. Sounds obvious. However, let's have a closer look, because if we, let's say, open up one of the tables, like dim date, you see we have 8 columns, all right? We have 0 hierarchies. Now, what is a hierarchy? Well, hierarchy, pretty easy to set up. Let's say we want to have a calendar hierarchy, then we go to here, click on 3 dots, create a hierarchy, and that's it, right? So now we can give it a different name. This is going to be our calendar hierarchy, and now we can just drag and drop all of the fields that we want to add to it. For example, the quarter we can add to it, and the month. And if we want to make adjustments to that hierarchy at any point, we just have to select it, go to the properties pane, and then over here you can adjust it. Okay, so that's what hierarchies are. Now, right below that, we have measures. Now, in this table, we don't have measures. We have measures, however, in the metrics table. So let's go there. You see, over here, we have 0 columns, 0 hierarchies, but 2 measures, ref actuals, ref forecast. Okay, and then we have partitions. What is partition? Well, partition you often use in combination with incremental refresh or for purposes of optimizing the refresh time. Now, let's try it out on an incremental refresh. Now, for an incremental refresh, we first of all have to go to Power Query. So let's do that first. Now, let's open up Power Query by clicking on Transform Data. Here we need 2 parameters, range start, range end. So let's do that first, which we can do by clicking on Manage Parameters, and then, well, Manage Parameters again. And let's create the first one. So this is going to be range start. And then over here, type, that's date time. Needs to be date time, all right? And then over here, any value is fine. And the current value, let's put it to 01, 01, 2020. Okay, let's do this one more time. So let's click here on new. Then we have range and, all right. Now here the same. So date time, any value, current value. Let's go for 01, 01, 2021. Okay. Now with these 2 parameters in place, then we have to go to the table on which we want to apply incremental refreshes. All right, that's this one. You have to make sure that it's not just date, but date time. Okay. And then we can, well, set up a filter. So let's click here on the drop down, and then date and time filter, and then here after. Now let's make that is after or equal to. Here we can change to a parameter, range start. And for the second one, we want to have the parameter range end. So it needs to be before. All right, so everything is set up. Then let's click here on close and apply. Okay, so in the model view, I'm going to go to that table on which I want to apply the incremental refresh. So that was FSD revenue. See, at the moment, there's just 1 partition. All right, let's click here on incremental refresh. And here we can, first of all, select the table, FSD revenue. That's already clear. Then turn it on. And then here we can say start archiving data since, well, 5 years ago. So archiving data starting 5 years before the refresh date. Incrementally refresh data starting maybe 1 day before refresh date. All right. Choose optional settings. Well, the last part you could make direct query so that you have the benefits of import mode and direct query. So import mode for all of the old data, the archive data, and direct query for all of the, well, recent data. So you have the benefit from data freshness that direct query offers, but the benefit of better performance that import mode offers. All right, so the best of both worlds. And here you see it nicely visualized at the bottom. Okay, so this is all set up. Now let's click here on apply. And at this point, well, partitions is still just one. Shouldn't that be more? Well, not yet. For that, we first need to publish it. Now, it needs to be in a premium workspace, something to keep in mind. So the report and dataset is published. However, for these partitions to be created, you first need to refresh the dataset. So let's do that. So I'm gonna go over here, hit the refresh button. All right, now the dataset is refreshed. Now let's see if we can download the file. So here on the three dots, then download this file. Doesn't work because, well, there's incremental refresh applied to it. So I was hoping that we could open it up in Power BI and then see the number of partitions, but that's not possible. So that means we still do need Double Editor sometimes. So here in the three dots, workspace settings, then we can go here to other, premium, all the way down. There we have the XMLA endpoint, copy it, then go to Double Editor. Here I would like to make that connection to that endpoint. So let's do that over here. Click OK, and then just log in. Now here we have that database, version 1, all right. Click on OK, and now we can see the number of partitions when we go to tables. Now let's then open the revenue table, partitions, and ta-da, here we have all of the partitions created. Now compare that to what we had before in the Power BI desktop file. Now let's go there. Before it looked like this, partitions, and then just one partition. All right, now these partitions are there to make refreshes more optimized, or quicker, using incremental refresh. That's the usual use case. All right, we covered most of the data items that you find in the semantic model and that you can now see in Power BI Desktop from the October 23 version onwards. Now, let me know your questions, comments in the comment section below. I hope that you liked this video. And if you did, then make sure to also check out these two over here. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.